Suadero Tacos has been known throughout the entire country of Mexico, depending on where you go, as the king of the street tacos. How do you really make them? In this channel, you guys have seen, I'll go ahead and put it right over here. You guys have seen in this channel how we make tri-tip tacos, how we make regular tacos de bistec, right? If you're interested in that. However, Suadero Tacos is kind of like the king of the street tacos. And over the years, there's been some changes, I guess you would say. You know, because the suadero originally comes from the flap of meat, I believe from the stomach to the thigh itself. And I'll go ahead and correct it down here if I'm incorrect, but that's where I believe that it comes from. So as the demand for the suadero tacos increased, the availability for the cut of meat became more scarce, right? So a lot of the folks, especially down in Mexico City, which is the capital of Mexico, what they ended up doing is they had to improvise with a bigger cut of meat that's much more readily available. And let's go ahead and check out what these meats are. So here is what a lot of people started to improvise in regards to the suadero tacos. Just a regular packer brisket, right? Today, we're only gonna use a flat, right? Just a flat. And here is the original suadero. I could not find this on any of the butchers down here locally, which is very surprising because we are a border town right here in Mexico, close to Mexico. So, but if you guys have a butcher that you guys know and can cut you some good cuts of meat or whatever, this is called the rose meat. Again, the rose meat. That's what you're wanting, right? So I had to order this online in order to achieve it. And it wasn't easy, man. So let's go ahead and get started on the things that you guys are gonna need. Now first, you guys are gonna need a very sharp knife, not just to open up the package. We'll go ahead and go over that here in a bit. But the very most important part in regards to making any type of street tacos, doesn't matter. It's gonna be pork fat. Now, I'm running low on this stuff. You guys can go ahead and substitute it with this. This is available at any Walmart, any other local stores that you guys have. We're gonna need an onion, yellow, white, doesn't matter. It all depends on your flavor profile. We got some homemade chorizo. I'll go ahead and link that right over here. Tortillas. Now these are the traditional style tortillas for the tacos, the small ones, but you can opt for the bigger ones. Totally up to you. And obviously, we're gonna go ahead and need gloves. But another thing too is that we're gonna start using this to fill up our water as well. And the most important thing that you guys are gonna need 100% in order to make traditional street suadero tacos is this. You can call it a disco, choricera, whatever it is, but I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description below on where to get it. This is, I believe, the 16-inch, and this goes well with the Kamado Joe. You can go ahead and get bigger sizes if you have a Kamado Joe, Big Joe, or if you have a propane burner, you can go ahead and use those as well. But for now, we're gonna use this 16-inch on the Kamado Joe, so let's go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, we're gonna want the Kamado Joe. If you're gonna do it on a Weber or whatever the case may be, you're gonna want this at around 350 degrees. It's gonna vary between 3 to 350, whatever, as long as it's in that range. Get your disco, right? Very important. So, I already have it lit up. It's about 300 degrees, give or take, so it's gonna be just fine. Now that we have it in there, we're gonna let it preheat. There we go. So we're gonna go ahead and start with the modern suadero for the time being. And it couldn't get any simpler, man. Open it up just like you would any brisket. Just like you would any brisket, man. But here is key. We're gonna use this part, which is a flat. And we're gonna use this as our modern suadero. People call this suadero, and I guess it's legit because, again, all over Mexico you can go ahead and find traditional suadero or whatever the case may be, and it's going to be brisket, right? So let's go ahead and start with this. So there it is. That's the flat. But we're gonna need it a little bit more thin, right? And we're not gonna trim any of this. We're not gonna trim any of this fat. Very important to have that fat, man. So, and in order for it to fit our disco, we're more likely gonna have to cut this in half, and that's quite all right. There you go. So we're gonna go ahead and shape it like the traditional suadero. It has like about a 1/2 inch thickness, I believe, somewhere around there. There we go. Same thing over here. Now that we have the brisket suadero the way that we want them, this is the thickness that we're looking for. So about 1/2 inch. Now that we got that going, traditionally the way that it's supposed to be done is you start scoring them. You know, like how some people do pork or whatever. And what this will do, well, at least the theory is that it's going to let everything absorb better. How true that is, I don't know, but that's the theory. So we're gonna go with it. If it has a fat cap, score the fat cap. I mean, I guess it depends. Some people score only the meat side, other people do the fat cap. I'm going with the fat cap. I'll do 1 and 1 if we have enough. This is kind of like what you're wanting right over here. See that? All right, let's go to the original. This is the original. Now this came from a butcher shop out in Florida. I'll leave a link to the description. I'll leave a link to the store in the description below. But they only sell Argentinian cuts of meat. And that's the only way that I was able to go ahead and get this stuff, man. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to make this video. But this is certified. This is certified Argentinian meat, Angus beef. So when you get the suadero, it's gonna be a big cut of meat. Again, this is a flap. That's all it is, man. See that? And the meat is very fibrous, kind of like the brisket, very tough. The only difference I can see from this versus the brisket is that the fibers are a little bit thinner, but they're just as tough. That's why the concoction needs to be very long so that everything can be cooked the way that it should. All right. So now that we have this is obviously too big. So we're going to cut it right in the middle, just like we did with the brisket. Same thing with this one, guys. We're going to end up cutting it right along the middle, right over here, so that it can go ahead and fit properly into the disco. So there it is, boys. You got the modern suadero, which is the brisket, versus the roast meat, which is the original. That's how it's cut up and everything. Let's go ahead and move on to the next step. So temperature is about 300. This is more than enough of preheating right over here. It's been like that since we've been cutting up the meat, right? So it's been a good bit. Now we're gonna add the lard. Very important that it's pork fat, man. Very, very important. You don't do this, you're not gonna get the traditional flavor. Now again, I did mention earlier that I only had just a little bit left. We're gonna go with this stuff. Not a whole lot, but it's gonna be enough. And just let that melt down. Some people have asked me if this gives it a smoky flavor because I have it in the Kamado Joe. And the answer is not really. If you look at the tri-tip taco video that I made, where I made the tacos in here, you'll see that it got a little bit of a smoke ring. Did it get a little bit of that charcoal flavor? It's very hard to say because, again, the type of cook that we're doing on this thing is very different. So if there was any smoky flavor in there, I couldn't really tell the difference. The next step is gonna be water. Careful, guys. If you're not wearing gloves, I highly recommend you doing so. So it's gonna be kind of like a 50-50 type deal. So now let's go ahead and let it preheat a little bit more. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna go ahead and put is gonna be the onion. Let's put that in there. Chorizo. Put that right in there. That's gonna give it so much flavor. And now the suadero. Don't worry if it fries up a little bit. It's not gonna hurt anything. There we go. Now, if it gets crowded like this, don't worry about it, man. Nothing's gonna happen. Mexican word of the day, no pasa nada. Now, what that means is that nothing's gonna happen, so I wouldn't worry about anything. So just make sure everything is nice, covered up real well. Make sure everything is in there. We're gonna flip it anyways, so I'm not too worried about anything, right? So we'll just leave it there. Should be fine. We'll leave it there for, I don't know, probably about an hour or so. We'll check up. So it's been about an hour. Temperature is around 300 degrees. Let's go ahead and check it out. Oh, hell yeah. So now is a very good time to go ahead and start flipping these cuts of meats, man. They definitely need it. Don't worry if some of it falls. It'll be fine. Again, what's the Mexican word of the day? No pasa nada. There we go. One thing I hadn't mentioned to you guys is that you kind of want to fill this piece up a little bit. Not all of it, but at least some. The water is going to reduce, but the lard obviously won't. So we're going to go ahead and keep the temperatures at around 350, give or take. And we'll check up on it. This is nowhere near done. I think we still have about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours left or so, give or take. So we'll go ahead and update you around hour 2 or so. So hour 3 has come up. Let's go ahead and check out to see how she's doing. She could use a little bit more water, but let's go ahead and investigate this first. Oh yeah, oh yeah. You see that? Like nothing. All right, so it's time to go ahead and take these things out. First, the modern brisket, and we're gonna go ahead and give it a little sear action too. Just a little bit. Now it's the real suadero, the original, the OG. This is the OG. How tender is this thing, man? Easy as pie. And now it's time for the tortilla action, bro. So we got our tortillas. These are the taco style ones. And all we're gonna do is dip, boom, dip, boom, dip, boom. All right, let's go ahead and give it a little flippy. Got a little stuck. Gonna see if I can go ahead and get these temps up. There we go, not too bad. All right, so I just adjusted the dampener at the very bottom. I left it full open, let this thing get hot as hell. Now gents, right here we have the modern, right here we have the OG. I'm gonna go ahead and try the modern, man, because you know me, man, I like me some brisket. So I'm gonna chop up just a little bit, not a whole lot. Then we're gonna put it here in this here taco. Cilantro. Some of this onion that we did. Oh yeah. Phenomenal. A little bit of salt. And let's see what we got. Bro, I can see why a lot of people ended up having to substitute the OG versus this one. OG turn. Make sure I don't grab any of this. Also looking pretty good. Let's get some cebolla. You guys already know that Mexican word of the day that we used it on the tri-tip tacos. Some cilantro. A little bit of salt. Sorry about the camera angle, gents, but let's dive right in. This is classic. Does need a little bit more salt. This one doesn't have that aftertaste of brisket, right? If you guys do a lot of briskets, you know what I'm talking about. Fantastic, man. This is the OG. This is the one. It's very good, man. Let me just try another one of the modern one, man. I just gotta figure out which one is the best, bro. I just got to. I don't know which one it is yet. Some salt and some lime. This time I got some lime, bro. All right, this is the modern one, bro. So that wraps up the test, man. And I gotta tell you, I thought that I was gonna like the OG style a little bit better. And I say this because that's what I grew up on, man. It's very traditional, right? However, the brisket carries a lot of flavor, man. And at least to me, having that fat cat mixed up into everything, you know, just makes it that much better, right? However, I will say this. We had people over. There was a lot of meat. We had a lot of people over and everything getting tacos. And a lot of them prefer the OG. And I asked them, really? You like the OG a little bit better? At least to me, it was a little bit surprising. They just ended up saying, hey, man, you know, the brisket is pretty awesome. The thing is that it's a little too fatty, right? And this other one, it is fatty, but it's not overly fatty. So that was interesting, right? So I guess if you guys had to choose, if you have people that like it, you know, kind of like how I like it, you know, you're going to go with the brisket, man. But people that want it a little bit more on the leaner side or whatever, I guess you'll go ahead with the OG. And that's pretty much it, man. If you like the content and everything, be sure to go ahead and hit that like, subscribe. See you guys on the next one. Later, guys.